here's the project we're going to be working on today. This is a little home sign that my aunt bought us last Christmas. Excuse my nails. I have been sanding and painting. We're redoing our kitchen and stuff, so my nails are not looking great, and there's no sense to paint them because they're just going to get messed up. So sorry about that. But my aunt bought us this sign. I think it was last year for Christmas, and I love it because we put it on our entertainment center and it just stands up like that, and then you switch out the O for different seasons. So this is the one we had up right now for 4th of July. My problem is there's not really one that I really like that's kind of more neutral. So this is the one I keep up most of the time. This is the Valentine's Day one. I usually keep that up most of the time because my other two options are the flower, which I just don't like yellow, and then this extremely crazy bright butterfly. I've never put up the butterfly. I probably could paint it, just not in love with the butterfly idea. So I want something a little bit more farmhouse, a little bit more that like matches our decor with kind of the farmhouse things that we have going on, the really neutral vibes that we have. So what I think I'm going to do today is I'm going to paint the center of this a little bit more neutral, and then I'm also going to make a wreath with some eucalyptus that will go here when I want to just use that kind of all year round and we're not really celebrating any kind of holiday. So I've prepped my little flower. I'm at my workstation. I have this gross paint towel down because this is what I use to paint so I don't get any paint on my white desk. So I just kind of prepped and put some painter's tape around it. I didn't want to have to be like super careful in these areas. I kind of just wanted to be able to kind of slap it on and be a little bit messy. And I kind of pushed that painter's tape underneath where there was a crevice. In some places I got lucky. In some places I couldn't get it underneath the middle of the flower, so I just had to tape around. So I'm going to paint it a very boring color. Just simply, I just don't like these really bright colors, especially not in the center of a flower. It just reminds me, I guess, of something that's very kind of like little girl. So I'm just going to paint it very, very neutral in the center, and I'm going to be using this chalk paint right here. This is in Parisian Gray by Folk Art. And I'm just going to take whatever's in my lid. And I don't even remember where I got this brush. It's clearly seen better days, but I use it all of the time. So I'm just going to paint that Parisian Gray. To move on to the other part now that we're done with the flower. So my original plan was this. I bought this from Walmart. I put some blocks on the back. So my original plan was to have it look like a wreath like that, but I'm not loving the way it turned out. So I scratched that and we came up with a new plan. So basically what I did is I just measured the size of my H with my little ruler, and then I just taped off how tall I then wanted this to be. So I'm basically going to hang a wreath on here, and hopefully it will look a little bit better. So these are just craft sticks. I actually got these from Lowe's. I feel like you get more for $1 than you do at Dollar Tree. So this came from Lowe's. So I basically cut them to the size that I need, and then I just cut some supports for the back. So I'm just gonna hot glue all this together. And then I'm going to be using Folk Art chalk paint in Parisian Gray, the same color that we painted the middle of that flower. And then I'm going to go in and just add some texture and some distressing with Waverly ink. I'm just going to use the bottom of my tray. I used the tray just because it's a little bit flatter. The towel was kind of getting in my way. I'm just going to push all of my craft sticks up to the bottom of my tray, and then glue on my supports. I'm not going to put this one too far down because I'm going to have to put my blocks here at the bottom so it will stand up. So I'm hoping the blocks will also give it some extra support. So we have, it's a little uneven. I'm just going to take some sandpaper, some 220 grit, and just kind of sand that a little bit more even, and then paint it with my chalk paint. Now we're going to work on our wreath for the front of our little sign here. So I just pulled off 2 pieces of that eucalyptus. This is eucalyptus from Walmart. It was $2 for a big bushel. I haven't been able to find it really recently. I was excited to find it, but I will say I had to clean up some of these edges a little bit with some scissors because there was a lot of extra plastic. So I just pulled this off and then I cleaned up some of those edges. So what my plan is I'm going to take this smaller part and I'm going to hot glue it inside of the hole where the wire stem was and let that sit, and then do the same thing so that it creates a circle for us and we have a small wreath. So I'm going to put a tiny dab of hot glue in here, and I will say this melts. When I did my original plan and messed it up and did not like it, I noticed that if you get too much hot glue or you get too close with the glue gun, you will melt the plastic, so just be careful. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to add a little tiny dab of hot glue in here. And place that end in. We have our little wreath. It's a little bit lopsided, but I'm thinking that we can probably hot glue it in place onto our sign. So I'm going to take our sign, I'm going to kind of figure out where I want the wreath to sit. If I want it higher up or in the middle. I'm thinking in the middle. So I'm just going to lay it on there for now. I'm going to take a very small piece of twine. Might need a little bit longer of a piece. And I want it to look like it's hanging. I've already made a jute bow, but I want it to look like it's like hanging on there. So I just need to kind of measure and figure out exactly where I need to attach this piece of jute so that it looks like it's hanging from it. So I think right about there looks good. So I'm going to add some hot glue and attach my jute. And I do want to bring my jute around to the back so it looks like it's hanging, but I don't need all of this extra, so I'm just going to cut a little bit off. And then I'm just going to hot glue this right to the back. there we have the start of our hanger. My next step is going to be to attach my wreath before I attach my bow. So I just need to figure out exactly how I want it to sit, because this does poke up a little bit. These are plastic. So I just need to adjust it so it lays a little bit more flat. So I have my wreath all on. I did a lot of hot glue here, and then I just tacked it down in two places. I did a little bit of hot glue there, and then I did a little bit on this leaf here, just to kind of keep it in place and keep it from kind of making an oval shape, because it was wanting to kind of spread out. So now I'm going to add my bow. I just made a really simple tiny jute bow, and I'm just going to put that over this spot where you can see all of that hot glue, just so it looks a little more polished.